来い。誰かいるのか。マキセ、クリス。
どうしたの？顔が真っ青だよ。
人が死んでた。8階で。
Steins Gate the anime, released in 2011, is an adaptation of the visual novel of the same name that was created by 5BP and Nitroplus. It was directed by Hiroshi Hamasaki and Takuya Sato, with score from Jun Murakami and Takeshi Obo. In the year 2010, a self-proclaimed mad scientist, Rintaro Okabe, is part of the Future Gadget Laboratory, along with his friends Mairi Shina and Ituro Hashida, or Daru. Okabe attends a press conference about time travel, but stumbles upon the dead body of a neuroscience researcher, Kurisu Makise. After being disturbed by the dead body, Okabe sends a message to Daru about it, and suddenly experiences something strange. Okabe soon finds that Kurisu is actually alive, and finds out that he can send text messages into the past. Today I'll be analyzing episodes 2 and 7. Why not consecutive episodes like 1 and 2 or 6 and 7 or something? Well, because a lot of the very early episodes don't have much going on plot-wise, and even the first episode can be and was just explained very briefly. I guess the same could be said for these two episodes, but I find these to be two of the most important episodes in the first half of the show, and because the actual time travel experimentation doesn't actually start until episode 7. And this is my project and my video, so I get to do what I want. Alright, let's begin. Makise Kurisu is shown to actually be alive, contrary to what Okabe experienced at the beginning of episode 1. He tries to confirm her existence but is denied. Dr. Nakabachi's press conference for time travel was suddenly cancelled, though Kurisu takes it upon herself to lead a separate lecture. During this lecture, Kurisu claims that building a time machine is impossible, and while Okabe refutes this, he's unable to back up his reasoning, which kinda shows that he doesn't really know that much about actual science, at least in comparison to her. Ryuka Urushibara, a shrine maiden, and Suzuha Amane, a new part-timer at the store below the lab, are both introduced. While walking back to the lab, Okabe asks Mayuri if she heard a scream in the radio building, which was what caught his attention in episode 1, leading him to find Kurisu's dead body. Mayuri says that she doesn't, making Okabe question the events that he experienced. Once he's back at the lab, Okabe tries to search up any news reports about the death of Kurisu in the press conference that he was supposed to attend, though none come up and it was confirmed that the conference had been cancelled. Okabe then goes onto an internet forum about time travel, where a user named John Titer explains that an organization called CERN holds a monopoly on time machines and plans to create their own dystopian world using them. John Titer claims to come from the future in order to prevent CERN from creating that world and restoring freedom, and explains the rules of time travel.
祖父のパラドックスですね。 それは存在しません。過去の自分に会うことも可能です。その場合、世界線が移動します。まず時間は過去から未来へと流れる一本の線ではありません。世界線という無数に平行に流れる川のようなもので形成されています。例えばあなたが今日通り魔に殺されるとします。それを未来から来た私が防いだとすれば、あなたが殺された世界と生き延びた世界の2つに世界は分岐するというわけです。
Okabe tries looking up information about John Titor, but it appears that there's not much public information about them despite it being a known incident. John Titor claims to have never been to 2000 despite Okabe saying that he was famous in that year. Okabe is in the street the next day where he notices that a woman is taking a photo of him, Moeka Kiryu. She claims that she's taking photos of proof of where she's been and asks Okabe about an old PC. Okabe doesn't know about it but mentions Daru, who might know something about it, and she's insistent on being introduced to him and threatens him with the photo. Okabe ends up giving his email address to Moeka and visits the May Queen, where Mayuri and another friend of theirs, Fadis, works. Okabe asks Daru about the PC, and it turns out to be an IBM 5100, and a copy of one was supposedly circulating around Akihabara a month ago but was never found. In episode 1, the lab members experimented on bananas by heating them up in their microwave, and they returned in a gel-like state and were found out to be torn apart at the molecular level. Okabe and Daru experiment on a new pair of bananas, and one of the bananas peeled from the hand, which is actually what they're called, connects back to the original bunch, although in the same gel-like state as the other experiment. Makise Kurisu finds the two conducting the experiment on the bananas and is intrigued. August 3rd. Okabe breaks open a microwave and justifies it by claiming that it is a time machine. Daru finishes adjusting the now called phone wave to send any D-mail to any phone number. The lab members perform an experiment to test the microwave, and Okabe successfully receives a text message from July 27th. Kurisu comes back from the shopping, and Okabe is upset that she was unable to purchase a Dr. Pepper. Yes, this is necessary to explain, you'll see later. Okabe begins a meeting with the lab members and declares that they are entering Phase 2 of Operation Erd, using the D-mail to actually change the past. The goal of the first experiment is to win the lottery, much to half of the lab members' disappointment in his selfishness. Moeka seems to be interested in the IBM 5100, and Okabe tells Kurisu and Mayuri to keep watch of her so that something doesn't happen to it. Mayuri takes Moeka on a tour of the lab while Okabe, Kurisu, and Daru decide which lottery to experiment on.
木曜日に当選番号が発表されている。そいつを過去に送るのだ。
本当にやるの？
他にいい代案があるのか？
当選番号だけどどれにする？ちなみに1等は2億とか。
2億？
待て、ダル。2億はちょっと。1等はさすがに目立ちすぎる。俺は期間に追われてる身だからな。
ビビったな。
2等は
等2300万円。
3等
70万。
それ
Kurisu adjusts the timer on the microwave to send a D-mail to Okabe 1 week in the past to buy a lottery ticket with the winning numbers. The microwave is started, and after convincing himself not to wimp out on the experiment, Okabe sends the message.
危険すぎる。もしもタイムパラドックスが起こったら。
いや、何を弱気になってんだ。うさいカンガルー。
After Okabe snaps back to reality, he finds himself standing in front of the phone wave, and the others tell him that he was about to perform the experiment. Okabe is in disbelief, and sees the D-mail message on his phone that was sent for the experiment, and soon realizes that nobody else remembers even doing it but him. Ryuga walks into the lab with a ticket of the winning numbers of the lottery, which Okabe apparently sent to him. One of the numbers, however, was one off, and on the table lies a Dr. Pepper. This world is not the same one as the one before the experiment. Suzuha tries to cheer up a distressed Okabe and advises him to ask John Titor about his circumstances.
もしかしてお前タイムマシンの話も
やるねかな。
忠告するが
分かってるって誰にも言わないから。あ、ひょっとしてタイムマシンのことで悩んでるとか？だったらさ、ジョン・タイターに聞いてみたら？
そういえばタイターは言っていた。過去へ行き、そこで過去を変えるとダイバージェンスと呼ばれる数値が変動し、世界は別の世界線に移動する。その移動の時、変化が生じる以前の世界線での記憶は消去され、新たな世界線での記憶が再構築されると。 D メールによりルカ子がロト6を買わなかった世界線から買った世界線へと移動した。世界線が変わり、過去の流れも変わったのだ。ここはロト6を当てるための D メールを過去に送らなかった世界。マユリたちは覚えていないのではない。実験そのものがなかった世界なのだ。ではなぜ俺にだけその記憶があるんだ。
Okabe calls off the experiment, and he and Kurisu are left alone in the lab. Okabe sends a message to John Titor asking about the experiment, and they confirm that the world line has changed, although is unsure why Okabe's memories are retained, and the idea of using an email to change the past was never considered in their year of 2036. John Titor tells Okabe that he might be the messiah to the world and could lead it beyond the 1% divergence. If Okabe is able to go beyond the 1% divergence, then the world will not fall into the dystopian future that John Titor has claimed to happen. The pressure to save the world dawns on Okabe as John Titor asks for his help.
私の目的は未来を変えること。そしてその力を持っているのはあなたかもしれない。
岡部、どうしたの？
何を言ってるんだこいつは。俺が未来を、そんなこと。
今日あなたに救世主になってほしい。
Now that I'm done recapping the episodes, we can start digging into them. We've already covered the basic plots of the episodes, but I want to put some emphasis on some of the specific conflicts that take place. The small bickering between Okabe and Moeka shows a few things about each other's personalities. Okabe doesn't like his photo being taken, for some reason, although it's probably kind of justified seeing that it was from a stranger. Moeka, on the other hand, is shown with some depth, and her actions make the viewer question the what and why about her character. It's clear that Moeka is a shy person, as she doesn't say much and doesn't make direct eye contact with Okabe, although that could just be an animation mistake. She's also very protective over her phone for some reason, though it does seem to be her main source of communication, as she's much more open and cheerful in her texts. Is that the real reason why she protects her phone? I can't say because this is only episode 2. You'll just have to find out on your own. The most mysterious thing about Moeka in this scene, however, is the fact that she's taking photos of proof of where she's been. Proof validates the truth or existence of something. So Moeka wants to validate the existence of places of where she's been. Why would she need to do that? Is she implying that she has a hard time recollecting memories or has an existential crisis? For the purposes of this video, I don't know. Just something to think about. Okabe and Daru's experiment lets us see why the two are partners. Okabe has the creative mind, and Daru is the one that actually makes his ideas into reality. When Okabe theorizes about why the bananas turn into gel, it shows that he does have at least some sort of grasp on science. Although to be honest, I have no idea if the EM wave effect has any sort of accuracy or is even a real thing, but I like to think that it does. Daru, the skeptic, asks Okabe how he knows this, and it's revealed that Okabe has no basis for this hypothesis. After they conduct the experiment, the two are shocked, and reasonably so. The last time that they performed the experiment, the bananas simply turned into gel, but did not return to their original bunch, because they were all together, much less move to another space. They obviously did not expect any of their experiments to result in such a feat.
緊急要請6665クーリングオフを発動させろ政府の承認そんなことを言ってる場合では
ジェンオツ
うるさいどこに隠した
隠したのはオカリンだろ
そうか分かったぞこれはもしやテレポート可能な電子レンジ
なんだってそんな無茶な
ではどう説明する房からちぎりレンジに入れたはずのバナナを
消えるバナでもさ房に完全に繋がってね
確かにさっき一本ちぎったよな
多分
これはやはりテレポート
そういうことになる
The experiment in episode 7 has Okabe in shock. All of his friends witness the experiment, yet none of them seem to remember it. Okabe tries to explain to the others that the event did happen, yet it completely contradicts their statements. The lottery numbers are slightly off, even though they were the exact same winning numbers from before the experiment. The unsettlement sinks in further, as there's a clear difference in the lab from before the experiment was performed. The Dr. Pepper. If Kurisu said that the store was sold out, and that there was no Dr. Pepper present before the experiment, how is it that one sits right in front of Okabe? It's not that Okabe changed the past that has shocked him, at least not yet, but that the world that he's in is different altogether. John Titor wants Okabe to be the savior of the world and go beyond the 1% divergence. Okabe, both confused and pressured by this request, is awestruck and unsure of what to do. These experiments were just out of fun and curiosity, but now Okabe is being asked to save the world with his science. It's such a large jump from what has already been established. The threat of the dystopian future is real, and it's because of the experiment that Okabe, and us the viewer, are inclined to believe so. Time traveling can no longer be done without a conscience. There are ramifications behind doing so, and nobody else will know but him. It's clear that a lot of Steins Gate's story elements are science fiction, ranging from the experiments to the explanation of time travel and parallel world lines. For one, the John Titor character. John Titor is the one that has all the knowledge about how time traveling works and is the one that warns about the dystopian future, propelling the plot forward in episode 2. For those that don't know, John Titor was a real-life personality that claimed to be a time traveler from the year 2036 who had to retrieve an IBM 5100, see the correlation? Like Steins Gate's Titor, he used internet forums to warn people of calamitous events that would come to be, though these predictions were inaccurate and had inconsistencies, leading to the impression that it was all just a hoax. The use of time travel is a classic trope of science fiction. In episode 7, Okabe explains that when the past is changed, that world is moved on to a different world line and contains a divergence number. All past memories of the world line that the world has diverged from are erased and replaced with new ones. This helps explain how time travel works in the series, why nobody remembers the experiment, and the differences in the world. Steins Gate is also a psychological thriller. In episode 7, Okabe's realization that nobody remembers the experiment and the differences in the world convey a heightened sense of fear. Oh my gosh, how many times am I gonna come back to this plot point? Okabe is the only one that remembers the experiment after they're conducted, and he's alone in his experiences, and no matter what, even if he was able to convince the others that the experiment did happen, it wouldn't change the fact that they would be unable to remember such a thing. The Dr. Pepper and lottery numbers also establish the fact that he has not changed the past, but instead moved into a different world, because if he's able to change the past and win the lottery, there'd be no reason for the numbers to change. Okabe and the viewer begin to question everything. What else has changed or could be changed? Why are there subtle differences, and how much different could other world lines be? And of course, Steins Gate is an animated series. It originally aired 24 episodes between April 2011 to September of that year, and it was animated by Studio White Fox, who have gone on to animate works such as Girls Last Tour and ReZero. There are various significant locations throughout the show, each of which serve as places for the characters to meet and, because of the nature of the show, see changes in. The Future Gadget Laboratory. It's the main meeting place of the cast and is a prominent location in both episodes. As an example, in episode 2, Okabe returns to the lab to search up of any news of the death of Makise Kurisu and the cancellation of the conference that he was going to. He also uses the computer to go onto an online forum about time traveling. Apparently there used to be books about John Titor in the lab, yet there aren't anymore, subtly signifying that something is different from what Okabe remembers. In episode 7, the cast experiments with the phone wave to see if they can change the past in the lab. The lab seems to remain unchanged for the most part, but there is one evident change in the lab. One of the drinks has been replaced with a Dr. Pepper. Meaning that in this world, Kurisu was actually able to find the drink that Okabe wanted. There is now hard evidence, at least from the 2 episodes that I'm covering, that the worlds are different. Akihabara is the city in which the series takes place in. Akihabara is a real-life city in Japan and used to be a big center for household electronic goods and the black market following World War II. However, in modern day, it is well known for being a huge district for otaku culture. In episode 2, various parts of the city are shown, such as the May Queen, obviously influenced by the city's otaku culture and maid cafes, and the Yanagibayashi Shrine. The name of the city is explicitly said and shown a couple of times in episode 2. In a news article that Okabe finds online, a satellite crashes into the Akihabara Radio Kaikan, the same building that Okabe went to see the press conference, and it mentions that the crash was near the Akihabara station. In any sort of piece of media, themes are always used as the base for the story, and obviously this applies to Steins Gate as well. The themes of time travel and parallel worlds are obviously the main focus of the story. In episode 7, oh, not again! Wait, I swear this is the last time I'm gonna mention this, okay? In episode 7, Okabe hesitates before completing the experiment, considering Kurisu's words about creating a time paradox. Okabe ultimately finishes the experiment, but another concern arises when he notices the minor changes in the world, such as the Dr. Pepper being present and the winning lottery numbers being slightly off. Okabe is terrified of these changes. He didn't change the past, but instead leapt into a whole new world line where his actions did happen. What would result from an experiment on a larger scale? Relationships are also another major theme in this anime. Not in the sense of romantic relationships, but the relationships that Okabe has with his companions in general. These relationships build up every character further and establish their roles in the story. Even the smaller slice-of-life scenes with him and other characters aren't simply there for filler. It's to show his character and how he bounces off everyone else. Take Daru for example. He's sort of a realist friend for Okabe. He makes the inventions and helps Okabe when asked. Sometimes he's Okabe's logic and reasoning, or he'll take jabs at his friend's strange behavior, and other times he annoys his friend with how far into moe culture he's into. Many times in episode 2, he displays these characteristics, from holding back Okabe when he was examining Kurisu, getting secondhand embarrassment at the lecture, yet still telling Okabe everything he knows about the IBN 5100 when he asks for it. It's clear that the two are still good friends and share a partner bond. Mayuri, on the other hand, is the epitome of innocence for Okabe. She's always a cheerful and softer person who always supports Okabe no matter what, whether he be in his Kyoma persona, the real him, and even in his science, in which she can't even really comprehend. This soft personality rubs off on Okabe whenever the two are alone. In episode 2, after stopping by to meet Ruka, the two are just casually walking home with their groceries, and the path that they, presumably, usually take is blocked. And Okabe realizes that Mayuri has to go to her job, so he insists on taking both bags of the groceries home, showing a caring side of Okabe that isn't usually seen when interacting with the other characters.
バイトの時間だろ。
ありがとう。今日はシフト遅いから終わったらそのまま帰っちゃうと思う。
マユリ、お前本当に悲鳴は聞いていないんだな。
悲鳴？いつ？
今日ラジカンでだ。
聞いてないかな。
そうか。わかった。だったらいい。
変なオカリ。
I'm gonna get out of the narrator position for a second, and I apologize for that, but I absolutely love all of the Mayuri and Okabe heart-to-heart scenes that are in this show, and this scene included. Mayuri's softness to Okabe's mad persona or his melancholic heart are so beautiful, and I just get so emotional while watching them.
甘ったれるなマユリ。たとえ幼馴染であっても金は貸さん。お前に今人生の厳しさを教えてやろう。なんだこれは。塗装されてないぞ。
メタル。
あ？
メタルだよ。メタルウーパー。
レアなのか？
すっごく。
ならばくれてやろう。
いいのオカリ。
法院今日まだ。
ありがとうオカリ。
だから法院。
Okay, I'm back. We're good. Steins Gate has and still is a hugely popular anime. Although it's not mainstream in the same vein as animes like Full Metal Alchemist or Attack on Titan, there's still a reason why it stood within the top 10 of my anime list for over a decade. Its amazing and tightly written story, deep characters, and emotional and atmospheric score all come together to create a masterpiece. Yeah, you're not getting your typical shonen fighting action, but that's why this is a psychological thriller. If you're looking for a new and different anime to watch from your regular shonen, then I would highly recommend Steins Gate. Even if you only watch anime for the action or aren't even into anime, I would still highly recommend it. And that wraps up the Steins Gate analysis video. That actually took so much more time than I needed to put this together. I intended to finish the script and record all my lines by Wednesday, maybe even going on to like 2 a.m. But I fell asleep at like 5 p.m. and I did the same thing on Thursday. And here I am recording my lines on Saturday with the smoke detector constantly going off, and I apologize for that. But thank you so much for watching my first. Oh, well, it's not actually my first, but first well put together scripted video. I've always wanted to do an analysis like this, but I've never really understood how to look into what I was watching that well, or much less even know where to begin. This was just made out of pure passion. This video is actually my project for my film cinema studies class final, and I didn't even have to do anywhere near this amount of work to get a 100 on it. But I mean, when you love doing what you do, nothing's gonna stop you, even if it's unnecessary. I also planned on making an analysis type video at the end of my film study class, or at least something like a script, just as a test for myself. I've always admired YouTubers that are able to really dig into shows like Giguk and The Unlucky Tug. Those are my two biggest analysis show inspirations, whatever you want to call them. And now I've finally been able to do it myself, and that's probably the biggest achievement that I've had ever since getting accepted into high school. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching this, or at least like my voice for background noise or something. Will I do something like this again in the future? I don't know. This is probably my peak if I'm being honest, but hey, never say never. Like Bieber. So maybe I'll see you around, and if not, thanks again for watching. And thank you, Mr. Carey. If you're even watching this or made it all the way to the end, maybe not, but thanks. I really love being in your class, and even if I didn't really seem like I did, you did help me achieve my whole goal and purpose of being in film studies, and I thank you for that. You're amazing, Mr. Carey. Oh, and by the way, you're still doing interns, right?